Listen closely, chosen one. There's a reason you've felt the tension when you walk into a room, a reason the energy shifts when your presence enters. This isn't paranoia, it's spiritual truth. What you carry within you stirs the atmosphere. You were marked by the divine long before you understood your purpose, and now the world, even unknowingly, recognizes that mark. Without saying a word, without lifting a finger, you disturb the comfort of those who've built their lives around shadows. They fear your light, because your very existence exposes what they've tried to keep hidden. You've always felt it, haven't you? That strange resistance. People staring, whispering, retreating, sometimes even attacking you. And for no logical reason. You walked into a job, a relationship, a room full of strangers, and suddenly the air got thick. You smiled, you tried to be kind, but instead of warmth, you received suspicion, envy, even hostility. You asked yourself, what did I do wrong? But here's the truth. You did nothing wrong. You did everything right. You simply showed up. And when someone who carries divine authority walks into a space, everything dark starts to tremble. They don't hate you because of who you are. They fear you because of what you carry. You're the chosen one. That's not just a poetic phrase. It's not just a flattering label. It's a spiritual identity, confirmed by the warfare you've endured. You were never meant to blend in, to live a quiet, unbothered life. Your soul radiates a frequency that disturbs falsehoods. You were sent to shake foundations, to shift atmospheres, to awaken people who've been sleeping in spiritual chains. But don't expect the chains to clap for you. Don't expect the darkness to welcome the dawn. And that's why people fear you, even when they don't understand why. You may have grown up wondering why you were the one always singled out. Why teachers misunderstood you. Why family members made you feel like the black sheep. Why friendships fell apart without explanation. You've sat in rooms where your silence was louder than everyone else's shouting, and your very being was treated like a threat. And yet all you wanted was to belong, to love, to bring peace. But chosen one, you weren't made for comfort. You were made for confrontation. Not the loud, physical kind, but spiritual confrontation. The kind that forces lies to crumble and truth to stand up straight. You carry divine fire, and when that fire burns inside of you, even your quietest glance can become a spotlight to those trying to hide in the dark. There's something holy about your pain, something sacred about every tear you've shed in secret. You thought those nights of crying were weakness, but they were strength. Intercession, transformation. You weren't just breaking, you were being broken open, because vessels of glory are rarely shaped in comfort. They're forged in fire, refined through isolation, and prepared in silence. So if you've been feeling misunderstood, alone, or spiritually attacked without reason, this message is for you. If doors closed that should have opened, if friends turned to enemies without warning, if your name has been dragged by people you once supported, know this: God allowed it, not because you weren't worthy, but because you were too radiant to stay where you were. The pruning was painful but necessary. You weren't being punished, you were being positioned. The fear you evoke in others isn't personal, even though it feels that way. It's prophetic. Because when someone who's been chosen walks into a room, the spirits that have occupied that space get nervous. It's not about your job title, your clothes, or your tone of voice. It's about what's inside of you. Your calling is louder than your words. Your purpose echoes in the spiritual realm. You are not like them, and you were never meant to be. You see, when you were being knit together in your mother's womb, the heavens marked you. Your spirit was given an assignment that set you apart. Even as a child, people noticed something different. Some tried to nurture it, others tried to silence it, but no one could ignore it. And that difference, that something they couldn't put their finger on, that was your divine spark, your holy defiance against mediocrity, your instinctual rejection of conformity. You were born to shift things, to break cycles, to carry a light that cannot be imitated or dimmed. But the world doesn't know how to handle that kind of power. People often respond to what they don't understand with fear, and what they fear, they attack. That's why the people you've loved the most have sometimes hurt you the deepest. That's why those you tried to support turned their backs when you needed them the most. Your light highlighted their shadows, and instead of healing, they chose to resist. Not because you did something wrong, but because the truth you carried made them uncomfortable. Still, don't let the betrayal harden your heart. Don't let rejection become your identity. You are not the wounds you carry. You are the warrior who kept standing. The fact that you're still here, still breathing, still believing, still pressing forward is proof that you were chosen not just to survive, but to transform. Every person who tried to dim your light was simply confirming how brightly you shine. The time has come for you to stop shrinking. Stop questioning your worth. Stop seeking validation from those who cannot comprehend your calling. The people who dismissed you, who feared your presence, who mocked your spiritual authority, they weren't seeing you, they were seeing the God in you. And the truth is, the presence of the divine unsettles anything not rooted in truth. And now you're stepping into the season where that unsettling becomes undeniable, where your presence won't just be noticed, it will be respected, where the very people who feared you will begin to watch you rise, unable to deny the favor that rests upon your life. But hear me, this elevation isn't for ego, it's for purpose. God is preparing a table for you in the presence of your enemies, not to flaunt, but to reveal His glory through your story. Everything you've endured has been leading to this moment. The isolation, the pain, the misunderstanding, it wasn't in vain, it was preparation. And now the same people who feared your presence without reason will begin to realize the reason was holy all along. You've been through battles that left invisible scars, not the kind the world applauds or even notices, but the kind that heaven records, the kind that shape the soul in secret, where no one sees and yet everyone somehow feels it when you enter a room. That heaviness you've carried, that wasn't just the weight of your own life, it was the weight of your calling, and you carried it with a strength that defies human understanding. You see, the battlefield wasn't always physical. Most of the time it was spiritual, and that's what made it so brutal. Because how do you fight what you can't see? How do you defend yourself against a war waged in whispers, in atmospheres, in energies that shift against you for no visible reason? You've walked into places and instantly felt pressure in your chest, like something unseen was pushing against your spirit. That wasn't your imagination, that was spiritual resistance. Because your presence carries authority, and every time you show up, you challenge the territory the enemy thought he had secured. You fought in silence, chosen one. While others partied, you prayed. While others complained, you endured. And while others were celebrated for less, you were overlooked for more. But God saw it. Every quiet sacrifice, every tear you cried into your pillow when no one was watching, every time you bit your tongue instead of retaliating. Heaven recorded it all, not as weakness, but as strength. The strength of someone who refuses to bow to darkness, even when surrounded by it. And let's be honest, there were days you almost gave up, moments when the pain felt unbearable, when you asked God, "Why me?" And the silence felt like abandonment. You questioned your worth, your sanity, even your faith, but you didn't quit. And that right there is where your power lies. Not in being untouched by struggle, but in rising again after every fall. You've been knocked down, bruised, betrayed, but never broken, because something in you refused to die. That something is your spirit, and it was forged in fire. Do you remember those seasons where everything seemed to fall apart at once? When the people you trusted vanished, the doors slammed shut, and the opportunities disappeared like smoke? You thought it was failure, but it was training, divine training. God wasn't punishing you, He was preparing you, because where He's taking you, not everyone can go. And the weight of the anointing on your life required the strength to carry it without pride, without bitterness, and without compromise. And now, without realizing it, you've become a warrior, not a loud, showy one, but a spiritual warrior. Your resilience is your armor. Your discernment is your sword. Your silence in the face of attacks is louder than any argument. You don't even need to speak anymore. Your presence alone testifies. And that is what makes people afraid of you without understanding why. They don't know your story, but they feel the fire. They sense the weight of glory on your life and mistake it for arrogance. But it's not arrogance. It's authority. Holy authority forged through years of unseen battles. Let me say this clearly. You've been through hell not to die in it, but to become proof that heaven still wins. And now the tide is turning. Slowly but surely you can feel it, can't you? Something in the atmosphere has started to shift. The attacks haven't stopped completely, but there's a new strength rising in you. A clarity, a holy fire. You've started noticing that the same people who once dismissed you are now watching from a distance. The ones who whispered behind your back now monitor your every move. They're sensing what heaven has already decreed. Your time is near. Your rise is coming. The veil is thinning, and soon the world will see what God has hidden in you for so long. You don't need to seek revenge. That's not your assignment. Your rise will be your response. The truth will be your vindication. And God, He will be your defender, because He's seen it all. He saw the spiritual daggers thrown at you in the workplace, in friendships, even in your own family. He saw how you were excluded, misunderstood, targeted not for your weakness, but for your light. And now He's preparing to honor you in the very places where you were once rejected. I know it still hurts sometimes. The memories of those who betrayed you linger. The sting of being judged by people who never took time to understand your heart. But let me offer you something greater than closure: perspective. What if every betrayal was a divine redirection? What if those who left were never meant to walk with you into this next season? What if God allowed the separation because your destiny demanded a circle that could carry the weight of your anointing? Because the truth is, you're not ordinary. You never have been. You've always felt different, like you didn't quite fit. And that's not a flaw, it's your spiritual fingerprint. You were never meant to fit into systems built on compromise, to thrive in environments that thrive on ego, or to settle for relationships that didn't honor your spirit. You're a disruptor, a spiritual catalyst, and people fear what disrupts their comfort zones. They fear your clarity, your confidence, your quiet strength. They fear your presence because it reminds them of everything they're avoiding. And they fear your favor because they sense, even without understanding it, that God walks with you, that you're protected, anointed, chosen. So let them fear, not in the way of enemies, but in the way people tremble before something holy, because what's on your life is sacred. And the fear they feel is not about intimidation, it's about conviction. Your life, your walk, your perseverance, it's a mirror. And mirrors are uncomfortable when they reveal things we'd rather not see. But this season isn't about them, it's about you. You've done the inner work. You've stayed faithful through the storm. You've resisted bitterness, even when it would have been easier to give in. And because of that, heaven is about to reward you, not privately, but publicly. The same people who laughed at your dreams, who tried to sabotage your path, who spread lies behind your back, they're about to witness your elevation. And not because you shouted, fought, or forced it, but because God has declared, "This is my chosen one." So walk boldly. Let your presence continue to disturb the darkness. Let your life be a living sermon, a moving testimony. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to defend your journey. Just keep walking, keep shining, keep standing. Because the fear they feel is not your burden to carry. It's confirmation of the power you were born with. And now the next movement in your story is unfolding, one where justice is not only promised, but revealed before all eyes. There comes a point in every chosen one's journey where the silence breaks. where the injustice no longer lingers quietly in the shadows, where what was hidden must come into the light, not by your hand, but by divine decree. You're entering that moment now, the hour where God Himself begins to reveal what others tried to bury. This is not about revenge. This is not about ego. This is about truth. And when the Most High chooses to uncover truth, nothing and no one can stop it. Understand this clearly. What is about to happen in your life is not random. It is the response to every tear, every sleepless night, every betrayal that tried to take you out. God has seen it all, not just your pain, but your posture. You didn't curse them, you didn't retaliate, you didn't expose what you knew, even when you had the chance. You chose righteousness when everything in you wanted to scream. And because of that, heaven has kept the records. Heaven has watched. And now heaven is ready to act. You are stepping into a season where divine justice will speak louder than any lie spoken about you. The tables are turning, not in secret, but publicly. God is pulling back the curtain, not to shame, but to correct, not to humiliate, but to reveal the truth in a way that even your enemies cannot deny. Those who once looked at you with disdain will now look at you in awe. And it won't be because you changed who you are. It'll be because they finally see who you've been all along. You've been walking in the fire of spiritual refinement, and now you're coming out like gold. They thought the fire would consume you. They thought it would break you, but all it did was purify you. All it did was strip away the need for validation, the craving for applause, the longing to be understood. You no longer need their approval because now you walk with authority. And that authority comes with a promise, vindication. Not in some vague, far-off spiritual sense, but real, tangible vindication. Some of you will see people come forward and apologize. Some will hear your name praised in places where it was once dragged. Others will simply watch as your life flourishes in a way that silences every accusation. But know this, it's not about them acknowledging you. It's about God affirming you. The reversal that's coming isn't just for your healing, it's for His glory. And it's going to be obvious. This isn't a behind-the-scenes reward. This is a stage moment. God is preparing a table before you, and the people who once disqualified you will be the ones watching. You will be seated, you will be honored, and there will be nothing they can do about it, because what God lifts, no man can bring down. You've earned this. Not through striving, but through surrender. You laid it all down. You gave up your right to fight in the flesh. You handed over your reputation, your future, your pain, and you said, God, I trust you. And that trust is your weapon. That trust is what moved mountains. That trust is what drew heaven's response. There's something sacred about that kind of surrender, something that can't be faked. You didn't just survive the betrayal, you let it teach you. You didn't just endure the silence, you found God in it. And now that inner healing is starting to show on the outside. Your posture has changed. Your voice has authority. Your eyes carry wisdom. And whether they say it aloud or not, people feel it. Your energy doesn't just fill a room, it commands it. Not by force, but by presence. So what's next? What do you do when justice begins to unfold? You walk in it, boldly, unapologetically, humbly, but without shrinking. You stop waiting for permission. Stop questioning whether you're enough. Stop trying to make others comfortable with your growth. You let the light shine. Because it's not your job to manage their reactions. It's your job to obey the call on your life. God didn't bring you this far to hide you now. He's positioning you in places where your story will speak louder than your words, where your life becomes a testimony that breaks chains for others. That's the real purpose behind this justice. It's not just about your healing, it's about generational transformation. Your rise will give others hope. Your breakthrough will open doors for those who thought they were forgotten. And let's be clear, this isn't a fairy tale. This is spiritual law. What you sow in pain, you reap in power. What you release in tears, you harvest in strength. You've paid the price, and now the promise is coming due. But don't forget, this isn't just about what's happening to you. It's about what's happening through you. As you rise, let your life remain rooted. Stay grounded in purpose. Stay soft in spirit. Stay aligned with the one who brought you through, because that's how you continue to walk in victory, not by exalting yourself, but by walking hand in hand with the one who raised you up. Let this be your call to action. Start speaking life over your journey, even now. Every morning, look yourself in the mirror and declare, I am chosen, I am protected, I am rising, and no one can stop what God has started in me. Write it down, speak it out loud. Don't wait until the justice manifests. Prophesy it now. Let your words create space for the promise to land. Because faith is not passive. Faith is the fuel that draws the future into the now. And your future, chosen one, is filled with restoration. You won't just get back what you lost. You'll receive more than you asked for, and it won't just be you who sees it. Everyone around you will know. This is the hand of God. So walk forward with your head high. Your season of silence is ending. Your season of exposure is beginning. But this time, it's not your pain being exposed, it's your power. Let them watch. Let them whisper. Let them wonder. Because what's coming next is justice in motion, and it has your name on it. Chosen one. You've asked the question more times than you can count. Why me? Why the rejection? Why the betrayal? Why the constant tension wherever you go? Why does it feel like even when you try to love purely, support genuinely, and serve faithfully, you're still met with resistance? Let me tell you something now that will settle that storm inside you. The attacks weren't random. The pain wasn't coincidence. You've been marked since birth. And what you carry terrifies the spiritual forces that operate through people who don't even understand why they react to you the way they do. To understand the weight of your journey, you must understand the law of divine opposition. Everything of value in the spiritual realm is recognized before it manifests in the natural. Your enemies knew who you were long before you did. They didn't have to read your dreams or hear your plans. The light in your spirit gave you away. They saw the glow. They felt the shift in the atmosphere when you walked in. And instead of honoring it, they tried to crush it, not because they hated you, but because they feared what you would awaken in them. Because your presence, chosen one, is disruptive. Not chaotic, but deeply confrontational in the spirit. You confront lies without saying a word. You provoke conviction just by walking in truth. You stir up dormant gifts in others simply by living boldly in your own. And not everyone is ready to face themselves. So they lash out. They distance themselves. They betray you. They misunderstand you. Not because you were wrong, but because your existence exposed their hiding places. Let me explain something deep. There's a paradox that lives in every spiritually chosen soul. On one hand, you are called to heal, uplift, and love. On the other, your very nature acts as a divine mirror, reflecting back to others what they've avoided seeing in themselves. And mirrors aren't always welcomed. When someone is used to darkness, even a candle feels like an interrogation light. You didn't bring judgment, you brought presence. You didn't bring condemnation, you brought clarity. But to someone hiding, clarity feels like threat. This is the spiritual psychology of the warfare you've faced. People have warred with your light because they couldn't face their own shadows. Your dreams reminded them of what they gave up on. Your perseverance mocked their excuses. Your purity convicted their compromise. It wasn't you, it was what you carried. But here's the deeper truth. They weren't the real enemy, not entirely. The Bible says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. What you've been dealing with isn't just personalities, it's principalities. Spirits that were assigned to stop you from fulfilling your mission. spirits that recognized the divine frequency in your soul and tried to shut you down through discouragement, betrayal, and sabotage. You were never just fighting with people, you were fighting through people. And the reason the battle was so intense is because the mission on your life is rare. Your calling is weighty. You're not here to play small. You're not here to echo what's been said. You're here to speak what's never been spoken. You're not just here to live, you're here to liberate. But to be a liberator, you have to be free. And freedom comes through fire. That's why you had to be broken. That's why certain people had to leave. That's why you had to walk alone in seasons where it felt unbearable. God wasn't punishing you, He was pruning you. He was cutting away the attachments that couldn't go with you, because not everyone has the character to walk with the chosen. Some would have leached your anointing, others would have diluted your message. Still others would have tainted your atmosphere with spiritual instability. So He removed them, not because you weren't lovable, but because they weren't ready. And in the absence of noise, you found clarity. In the solitude, you discovered your strength. In the betrayal, you unearthed your discernment. You thought the wilderness was a curse, but it was sacred ground. It was in that wilderness that God whispered secrets to your soul, that He showed you who you really are, apart from the applause, apart from the opinions, apart from the masks. That's where your true authority was born. Chosen one, here's what you need to understand now. They didn't hurt you because they were evil. Most of them were afraid. And in some way, their attack was a reaction to the shift your presence caused in their spirit. When someone is content living in illusion, your truth becomes a threat. When someone is accustomed to spiritual slumber, your awakening sounds like an alarm clock. Loud, annoying, disruptive, but necessary. Don't hold bitterness in your heart. You were misunderstood, yes. You were wronged, absolutely, but you were never truly defeated. What the enemy meant for harm, God has used for mastery. What was meant to destroy you has only made you more discerning, more unshakable, more surrendered. You're becoming dangerous to the kingdom of darkness, not because you fight like the world, but because you love like heaven. Because after everything, you still choose compassion. After everything, you still pray for the ones who hurt you. After all the lies, the losses, the late nights questioning everything, you still choose to rise. And that's what makes you unstoppable. You're not naive anymore. You see clearly now. You understand the battlefield isn't outside, it's within. You recognize the real enemy isn't the person who left, or the co-worker who slandered, or the sibling who ridiculed. The real enemy is fear, shame, guilt, the invisible chains that try to keep the chosen ones from walking fully in their purpose. And you, chosen one, you are breaking every chain. You're not the same person you were when this battle began. You've been sharpened. You've been refined. You've learned when to speak and when to be silent. You've mastered how to carry fire without burning people, how to walk through storms without drowning in bitterness. You've developed the rare gift of walking alone without losing your identity. That is divine power. That is spiritual maturity. That is the anointing of the chosen. So now you must walk forward with this understanding. You weren't attacked because you were weak. You were attacked because you were seen, and what the enemy saw terrified him. Your soul's mission is to bring light where there was darkness, to remind people of truth, to wake up the sleepers. And yes, sometimes the alarm clock gets smashed, but it doesn't stop the morning from coming. You are the morning, chosen one, and nothing can stop the dawn. You've walked through fire and didn't burn. You've been buried in silence and rose without making a sound. And now you stand at the edge of something holy. This moment, this breath, this knowing that pulses in your spirit, it is the confirmation. You are the chosen one. You didn't earn that title through perfection. You didn't receive it because of applause, wealth, or worldly validation. No, this was written into your soul before your first breath, a divine designation etched into the very structure of your being. You've always known, somewhere deep within, that you were different, that your path would never look like the others, that the price you paid would be greater, and now you see why. Because the light in you was never meant to be hidden. It was meant to illuminate every room, every relationship, every generation you touch. This is not just a recovery, it's a rebirth, a resurrection of purpose, of voice, of dignity, of destiny. God is breathing life into the bones that others said were too broken. He's lifting you in full view of the ones who counted you out. But it's not for revenge. It's not for the applause. It's for the glory of the one who kept you through every dark night. It's for the people who will find hope because you chose to rise again. There's power in your survival, but there's even greater power in your surrender. You surrendered your pain, your questions, your need to understand. You let go of the need to fix what others broke. And in doing so, you became unstoppable. The kind of unstoppable that doesn't need to prove anything to anyone, because your peace now speaks louder than your pain ever did. So now, step into this next season with your head lifted, not in arrogance, but in divine assurance. You've already walked through the valley. You've already fought the unseen wars. This next chapter is about manifestation, about watching the promises unfold like a sunrise, gentle but undeniable. You'll see it in sudden opportunities, in doors opening where only walls once stood, in conversations that affirm everything your spirit knew but never dared to say out loud, in favor that follows you like a shadow, because now you finally understand. You were never forsaken. The people who tried to destroy you, they were simply tools in the refining process. Their betrayal didn't break you, it revealed you. And now their silence will speak louder than their words ever could, because your rise will be undeniable, and not just undeniable, it will be contagious. Others will find their strength in your testimony. Others will walk out of their graves because they saw you climb out of yours. You are no longer defined by who walked away, by who misunderstood, by who couldn't handle your light. You are defined by the God who never left, never doubted, never gave up on you. And He's not just restoring you, He's elevating you. Your identity is sealed. Heaven has spoken. And everything that's about to unfold will confirm what your spirit has always known. You are set apart. So what now? Now you live like it. You don't shrink to make others comfortable. You don't water down your calling to keep the peace. You don't play small in rooms you were sent to lead. You move forward in purpose. You walk like someone who carries the answer to the very prayers others are afraid to pray, because that's who you are. And yes, you will still feel resistance, because light always stirs shadows. But now you know what to do with it. You no longer internalize their fear as your flaw. You no longer interpret spiritual warfare as personal failure. You recognize the pattern. And more importantly, you remember the promise. You are protected. You are provided for. You are purposed. So here is your spiritual call to action. Every morning, before the noise of the world touches your ears, speak this out loud with fire in your voice and conviction in your chest. I am the chosen one. I walk in truth. I carry divine light. I am protected by God. I do not fear rejection, for I was never meant to fit in. I am here to rise, and I will rise with grace, with strength, and with purpose. Say it until your atmosphere shifts. Say it until your doubts dissolve. Say it until every force that opposed you bows to the truth of who you are. Chosen one, your steps are ordered. Your scars have become sacred. Your silence has produced power, and now the world will watch as you walk boldly into everything the enemy tried to withhold. But above all, remember this: you are not alone. Even when it felt like no one understood, heaven did. Even when you had to cry behind closed doors, heaven saw. Even when you stayed quiet while others lied, heaven recorded your faith. And now, heaven is responding. This is your season. This is your shift. This is the moment they realize why they feared your presence all along. Because you were never just another voice in the crowd. You were always the one sent to awaken it. So walk, and don't look back. Until we meet again, chosen one, walk in peace, live in purpose, and let your light burn so bright that the darkness remembers why it tried so hard to stop you. Farewell for now.